All right, good morning, everybody. We have Benjamin Nicholls here from Nicholls Hospitality Marketing. How are you doing today, Benjamin?
Great. How are you? Thank you, Jason.
I'm doing really well. Thank you. So why don't you start off with what do you do?
Okay. Well, really what I do is I help hospitality business owners and managers make better marketing decisions. Marketing is a really complex, interwoven practice. And you turn one lever and it turns a wheel over here. So it can be really difficult to really know what's going on and to make correct decisions about where you should put your money, what steps you should take next. And that's one of the things that I do through my marketing audits for hotels and restaurants.
Awesome, awesome. And do you specifically deal in a certain type of marketing or marketing holistically for your
Well,
business?
I would say it's probably a little more strategic than it is tactical. Marketing plans, brand management programs, even helping restaurants, prepare to get franchised. I don't do the full franchise disclosure document, but I can help, with the positioning and the branding for that as well.
Awesome, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
I would even say in the restaurant sector, doing menu engineering is a big part of what I like to do. So if you think of a menu, it's often created either by the chef who's really focused on the food, the general manager who's like, hey, I've got this thing that I got to do, just check the box, get it off my list, or they say, you know what, let's just send it to a graphic design company. And in terms of menu engineering and that sort of work, if you think of it kind of like a race car, it needs to have a good coat of paint. It needs to look nice on the track, but it's all the things underneath it that really helps it perform. And that's something that I work on, making sure that all the elements are really running as smoothly as they could. And when you look at a lot of restaurant menus, and that's a big part of what I do, you'll see, from my eyes anyways, about 90% of them really could use some tweaking. And 60% of them could use a lot of work. And that'll have an impact on that restaurant between 3 to 15% in terms of revenue and profit. So it's one of the least expensive things that a restaurant owner or franchise can do is to make these adjustments. Unfortunately, a lot of them just say, you know what, it's a thing on the list, give it to the chef, give it to the graphic design company. It'll look nice, but I mean, it really needs to perform in this competitive environment.
Absolutely. So that's incredible. So by having a menu specifically and properly put together and engineered, as you're saying, it can actually increase the restaurant's revenue by up to 15%.
That's correct.
Wow.
And a lot of those things are kind of back end things like cost management, what should be there, what shouldn't be there, those sort of performance issues.
Awesome. I love that. That's incredible. That's incredible. And obviously, we're just coming on the tail end of COVID-19 here in BC. You're based down in Vancouver, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. What kind of business changes or considerations did you have to make as you kind of moved through the pandemic with yourself and your clients, how you guys did business?
Well, for me, really, my goal is to help people make better marketing decisions and use their resources better. So my focus didn't really change a lot. However, the availability of my marketplace really did. A lot of people were like, and when it's hospitality, generally that's an industry that's really hard hit. And one of the first things that gets hit in a business when there's a downturn is often marketing. And so I would say for me, it's really just not as many people are open to doing the work. It's like, look, man, we'd love to do something with you, but we're not even sure we can have our doors open next week. So that was probably the biggest challenge there for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of all the changes to maybe the way that you looked at business, working with clients, maybe the way you actually performed your services and fulfilled those contracts, were there any changes that you made throughout COVID that you actually continued after the fact and you still do today, just because it was either a more flexible option for your clients, you found it to be a better way to do business, you learned something?
I think the biggest change would be really just having that courage to ask the tougher questions.
Awesome.
I mean, you don't want to upset people when you're coming in, but you want to make sure that you're having a good impact when you are there, that you're producing results. And so you can talk fluff, and I mean, that always shows up and that always washes out. But if you're asking the tough questions when it comes to marketing, like how are you using your resources? And that would be like your people, your process, your promotions, and your physical evidence. I mean, these are key factors in what's known as the hospitality marketing mix, these components. And when you look at the physical evidence, especially in hospitality, it's kind of like the silent salesman. You walk into a Four Seasons or a Ritz-Carlton and you order just a glass of Coke, it'll cost you $8 or $10. You go down the street to McDonald's, you're going through the drive-through, it's $1. And a lot of that has to do with the value that's wrapped around in the positioning of that physical evidence in your property. So being able to ask those tough questions, like what happens if some of your key components to your pricing, to your positioning are impacted? How do you keep your boat afloat? I mean, what's your plan? And with the audits that I do for hotels, I look at 1,500 different components for marketing specifically for hotels. For restaurants, it's 500 different points of analysis. So I say, if we were to take something away, how does that impact your ability to run? How does that impact your ability to get your message out there? Does that change your message? So those are some of the things that I would perhaps push a little bit more aggressively on and ask those little harder, those questions that might make you a little squirmy, get you a little uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, if it's a pandemic, if it's a war, if it's inflation that erodes disposable income, which takes a swing at hospitality, what are you going to do? What's your plan? And if you don't have a clear focus on what that is before the chaos shows up, I mean, man, you're going to have a hard time when it's on your door trying to figure out what to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have seen similar things. Myself personally, like I have a good amount of experience in marketing and advertising, specifically with social media. And oftentimes, one of those questions that I would ask would be like, hey, we can bring you leads. Is your team prepared? Is your sales team prepared? Is your team prepared in with their own sales training to intake those leads and move them through a sales cycle? Do you have a sales cycle in place, right? So I could definitely relate to that. And also what you said with, asking those tough questions. Sometimes one of the things we use in the firm here is we tell our clients not to be nice. And nice means nothing inside me cares enough, right? Because if you really do care, you are asking those tough questions oftentimes, right? So
that's good.
Amazing. Now, this next one, Benjamin, it's a little bit more of a loaded question. So if you got to think about it, or if a couple things come to mind, feel free to share those. What would you say is your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
I'd probably say, commitment and adaptability. You see, I've seen that in the hospitality industry for myself, getting things started. Commitment really being to your end goal, to your end objective. That has to be rock firm. Like, where are you trying to go? In terms of adaptability, the process is going to change. I mean, you said you have experience in marketing. Marketing is a great example of things are going to change. It's not a matter of if, it's they are going to change. So how I get from A to B changes, and you have to be willing to pivot. I mean, when I look at the restaurant industry, those restaurants that had the big focus on the dining room service, if they couldn't adapt, like their goal was to provide great service and a great experience to people. But when that room gets taken away, how do they change to keep their doors open, to be adaptable that way?
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the, that point kind of reminded me, one of the old phrases, an old mentor I had years ago used to say, he said, when it comes to business, it's goals in concrete, plans in sand, because your plans have to be.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what he used to say a lot. I love that. No, that's phenomenal. Any offers today, Benjamin? The best place for people to kind of get in touch with you, or offers for any business owners that might want to look at marketing or your services?
Yeah, I would say, they can check out my website, nicholshospitalitymarketing.com. And for anyone that's coming through you guys, they get a special deal. They get 50% off on their audits.
Awesome. Absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much. That's great. And the last question today is, what is most inspiring to you today, Benjamin?
I think, being an entrepreneur, it can be a pretty lonely road. The hours, okay, you go have fun, and I'm back at the desk doing what I got to do. For me, what inspires me and helps me to keep going, I would say, is probably my faith, my relationship with God and Jesus Christ, knowing that I don't have to walk alone, that this journey that I'm on, getting my business going, serving other people, it's bigger than just me. And, encouragement that way from my wife to know that, there's something bigger than just the quarterly reports, the annual reports, that I can do something more than just offer marketing. And, you know, that's what inspires me.
I love that. That's a phenomenal message. Thanks so much for that, Benjamin. Well, appreciate the time today. If you guys want to get in touch with Benjamin, the details for his company will be below the video today. And other than that, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jason.